Right now at 10:03 here on Live Impact News. This morning we're talking about summer travel, and we're feeling a little sticker shock when it comes to planning a trip, especially overseas, specifically those European vacations. Hotel and airfare rather, prices seem to be going up. But if you do have points and miles, now might be a good time to use them. Julian Keel from Points Path joining us with some of these strategies to smarter travel season this summer. Julian, because a lot of us are asking, where's the money? Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the big picture here. How much more expensive is Europe travel this summer?
Yeah, just like everything else in the world, it seems prices are up. We're seeing for domestic flights about 15 to 20% year-over-year increase for summer travel. For international, it's actually a little bit better, though you'll still pay more. We're seeing increases of about 7 to 12%. So while it may seem like a better deal to go to international or go to Europe, it is still going to be more expensive.
Okay, so is it still worth going?
I think it is. Look, at the end of the day, people are still traveling. There is still a lot of demand for travel, and that's one of the reasons that they are able to keep prices higher, because people are still wanting to get on airplanes and go to places and experience trips. So I do think actually it's a great expenditure. It's a great way to create some memories. So I would certainly recommend don't let the price dissuade you from making the trip.
All right, we have several trips here out of Charlotte Douglas that go direct nonstop to destinations like Rome and Athens and London. But if we can't afford Rome or Paris, are there areas there in Europe that are just as beautiful and majestic and historical?
Absolutely. Just because you may not want to head for the main attractions, because that is, of course, where the demand is and where prices are higher, look at alternate destinations, secondary places. Helsinki could be a great choice. Dublin is also a beautiful one. And then you could maybe find a deal still to London if you're flexible in your plans. We find here at Points Path, according to our data, August is the best time to find a lower price deal. So if you have some flexibility in your travel plans, aim for later in the summer.
All right, let's keep on that flexibility theme. How else can you use flexibility as an advantage to coming up with a good, affordable fare?
Right, so there are a couple of tricks. First of all, look for midweek departures. Our data shows that leaving on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, you're probably going to find a cheaper fare than if you go for those higher demand Friday and Sunday departure days. The second thing is, we've talked about flexibility. If you're willing to do that early morning departure, those flights have less demand, so you're likely to get a better deal. Late night can also be the same way, although traveling to Europe, you're usually looking at a red eye either way. And then if you're willing to make a connection, take that connection. You'll probably find a cheaper price versus the nonstop. Yes, it's a little more inconvenient, but you'll get a better deal. And of course, don't forget about those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, exactly. With points or miles, and you don't know how to use them or to use them to your best advantage. What's the general rule of thumb here?
So unlike in the past where people always said, oh, I can't find seats with my miles because of blackout dates, airlines have really changed their systems in the last few years. Most of the time, you can actually use your points or miles for a flight if a cash fare is available. The difference is that unlike in the past where it was a fixed price, now those points prices fluctuate just the same way that cash prices do. So you may get less value for your miles if you use them, but you can still save some cash. And it might be a good time in this time of increased issues with affordability to use those miles. Don't let them sit there. They don't get more valuable over time. So if you have the opportunity, use them.
Okay, and then when it comes to smart premium redemption, if people don't understand what that term means, explain that, and how can we use that in our airfare travels?
Yes, so since the pandemic, people really are looking for premium experiences. What we're talking about are first and business class seats, lounge access. International travel itself is a premium form of travel. And those are the places that actually, because demand has stayed at the same level since the pandemic, we are seeing some potentially good deals compared to what you would have seen last year. Yes, you're going to pay more in either cash or miles, but it could be a really good use of your resources, and you could get a really nice trip across the ocean that way.
All right. How does Points Path work? Because you're a tool that can be used for finding some of those really good values.
That's right, because a lot of people say, I never know whether to use my miles or to just pay cash and save the miles for later. What PointsPath does, it's a browser extension. You install it in Safari, Chrome, on your iPhone or iPad. When you do a search in Google Flights, Google gives you all the cash prices. We add all of the points prices from all the major airlines, Delta, American, United, and tell you for each flight which is the better deal. Should you use cash or use your miles?
All right, that's simple enough. Very good tool. And before I let you go here, Julian, what should the one thing that travelers should do this week if they haven't planned their summer trip yet?
I highly recommend booking something. Keep in mind, since the pandemic, most airfares, except for the basic economy ones, are changeable or cancelable without paying a penalty. So I always recommend find a deal now that works for your schedule and your budget. Book it, but then keep looking. That's not the end of the process. If you find a better fare down the line, you can cancel your previous booking, grab the new fare, and lock in the savings.
All right, there you go. Julian Keel from PointsPath, thank you very much. Good information this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. And we'll be right back here on Live Impact News.